1, 2, 3, clap. That was so bad.
I think I was early.
No, you were late.
You want to do it again?
Okay,
I was
let's
late?
do it again. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, clap.
Okay,
That was was that worse? I felt like that was better.
That was worse, absolutely.
Okay. Let's try it again.
That last one sounded like jazz.
Hey, we're just here to make jazz. 1, 2, 3, clap. That sounded good.
Worse.
No, that sounded good. Really?
No, don't.
No, it was
I'll
terrible.
sound like a
Years apart.
Oh wait, are you clapping when I say clap or a beat after I say clap?
A beat after. Willie, you could drive a truck between our claps.
I've been clapping on the clap, or at least trying to. In my
On
head,
the
I've been
clap.
clapping on the clap. Yeah.
On the clap?
Like one.
Yeah,
Hey.
let's do it on the clap. Okay.
Hey.
Hey, here we go. 1, 2, 3, clap. No.
Can we skip this step? Is there a way to skip this step? That can't be the most important step.
Okay. Welcome to.
I'm sorry, I didn't expect you to. Right before you.
Like a Russian gymnast getting ready for a trick.
Hit it!
I'm just working. I'm just trying to get into the voice work industry. I'm working on my various soft hits. Okay. Welcome to Is This Pinball, the weekly podcast discussing the issues of today, namely, is this pinball? Is this not pinball? And how pinball is it? I'm Amy Langer, and with me as always are my co-hosts, Willie Caldwell
Hi.
and Dylan Waite.
Hello.
All right, Willie, you say you have something first. You want to get us started?
Yeah, sure. I'll bring the first review of the day. The first table I brought to review is called Firefighter Pinball. It's pinball. I give it 1 out of 5 pinballs.
Okay, and so, what does it look like?
It looks like somebody made it in Flash. There's a burning building with a fire engine out in front, and then your little pinball he's kind of hot and glowy. He bounces around, and you hit different things. There's a ringing like 911 thing. There's a fire hydrant that you can hit. There's some sort of pressure meter.
Mm-hmm.
This sounds surprisingly intense. For like...
Yeah. Oh, I went into the water hose. Whoa, and now it's transporting me into... Oh, it transported me into a whole different table.
Are you playing it
Wow.
right now?
Yeah, I'm playing it right now. It transported me into a whole different table with a rescue helicopter.
What's this thing called? Firefighter Pinball?
Firefighter Pinball.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah. Amy, are you logging on to play right now?
Yeah, classicgame.com.
ClassicGame.com, that's right.
A vast antivirus software says that this is not a super safe website.
It's not. I had to watch a bunch of ads and close a bunch of pop-ups.
This seems fine.
They used to give warnings like that about stuff like LimeWire, and that was always okay.
Yeah. Okay, true or false? In the event of a fire, you should get outside.
False.
True, probably.
I'm going to say false. Life lost. In case of a fire, don't hide. Go outside. I got 1 out of 3 stars. Do I want to play again?
What are you hiding from a fire for? I hope this fire doesn't fucking find me. Better get behind the sofa.
So that's Firefighter Pinball. I scored 19,655 points. I give it 2 out of 5 pinballs.
And you learned something.
Wait, did you
And
just
you learn
elevate
about fire safety.
Did you just give it an extra pinball the second time you played?
Yeah, because I didn't know that it would take you to a different table if you shot the ball up the fire hose. Well, that's my review. Who else has got one?
Amy, do you want to go? I got one unless you want to go.
Sure.
Do you want to go?
My pinball game this week is Dead Cells. It is a roguelite Metroidvania with some Souls-like contents, which is the most pretentious bullshit sentence I've ever heard, but it's a very good game. It's very like, hey, here are some enemies, run around, smash them with whatever weapons you've got. Hopefully all of them will die. It is very kinetic. It feels really good to play. Part of the game is the roguelite component is that there's a permadeath. So once you get killed, you are punted back to the beginning of the game. And as you continue to play, you do get upgrades, so better weapons, more opportunities to, like, bigger health potions. So you do get to progress farther as you get more and more powerful. So you get to keep all of your upgrades as you continue. I've played over 300 hours of this game.
That's pretty on brand for you.
Yeah.
Once you like something, you sort of don't stop.
It's kind of, listen, I know what I like, and I will stick with it until it disappoints me. And so far, it hasn't disappointed me, so it can stay. It is, part of what I like about it, besides it being a fun game to play, is that it was put out by a French company that is worker-owned. So there is no CEO to this game company, and it was a way to try and hedge against crunch time, which is the general video game industry way of putting out games, which is just to have people work ungodly hours and kind of forget they have family or friends and just have to like stay in the whole time until the game launches. So the thinking was that if you have a worker-owned collective, they'll all have equal investment in the game, and there will be, if there is a crunch time, it will be more evenly distributed, and also people will have greater opportunities to communicate with one another about like what they actually need as human beings, like eating or sleeping. And they're very French, which I find delightful with every single interview that I see with them. I started playing it in early access, and I've seen every iteration since. And part of what I also like about it is that even after they've continued to upgrade it, you can now go back and play whatever iteration you want. And this was for mostly like the speedrunning community or for folks who just like really liked one of the builds. And there's something about like the player focused aspect that makes it feel really personal, even though it is, you know, the most basic of hack and slash games. Pinballs. It gets 1 out of 5 pinballs because it is not a pinball game, and there's no element to it. Oh, there are hidden rooms though. So like going the wrong way up the hose, there are certain rooms that if you hit certain things at specific times, it will reveal hidden rooms. And I guess the feel that I get going into those hidden rooms is probably the same that Willie felt with his genuine surprise in being able to go up the hose. So 1 out of 5 pinballs, not a pinball game, but does have secret rooms.
Great. Amy, do you mind if I tell you why that thing you love is terrible?
Dylan, I invite you to tell me why the thing I love is terrible.
It's because it's made by the French, isn't it?
I mean, that's part of it. No, actually, it's terrible because it's actually pretty good. You know, it's got a lot of promise. I too have been playing it since early access, and I too think it's a lot of fun in a lot of ways. But I have so many small complaints.
Hey, why don't you name them each individually in a long list?
Wait, me?
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Couldn't. Okay, if you insist. No, it's cool. Well, actually, let me start with your assessment of it being 1 out of 5 pinballs, which, while I respect, is also wrong. Let's see. So in pinball, you're sort of competing against yourself to attain the highest score, correct?
That is correct.
Well, so in the roguelike way that you played Dead Cells, every time you start back at the beginning, you're, again, especially early on when you haven't beaten the game yet, you're competing against yourself.
That is
You're
true.
trying to get further, you're trying to progress farther, and you're learning patterns and completing things. Even though the levels are randomized, there's still patterns to defeating enemies and navigating certain spaces,
Right.
like the docks with the doors.
Right. Oh, there's something I failed to mention the first time, is that every time, as you just mentioned, every time you play through each level, though it has a theme, the way the rooms are situated changes each time in that random mode, which makes it fun to play because it's always a little bit different every single time. Sorry, you were saying, though, more like pinball.
Two pinballs out of 5, I think, is probably more appropriate. But then also, you know, Souls-like elements. What fucking Souls-like elements are in this game? I mean, let's really talk about it.
This is what's in your craw. It's just nothing. Nothing could ever compare to
No.
holy trinity that is the Dark Souls series, and that's excluding
Okay,
Dark Souls
first of
2.
all-
I know.
Yeah, and
what you're
replacing it
gonna
with
s- Yes,
Bloodborne.
I know.
Yeah. Okay, great.
I was getting
No,
there.
no.
and This, okay.
Listen,
All right.
you're not wrong, but here's why you're wrong. The game explicitly invites comparisons to Dark Souls, which a lot of
Yes.
games that have been ripping off Dark Souls aren't doing. But this one says, please, look at us and tell us how we are Dark Souls because we're telling you that we're Dark Souls. And you're not Dark Souls. The sort of Miyazaki style of like environmental storytelling and storytelling through flavor text is there, but it's like not fully fleshed out or very
I'd agree with that.
accomplished or interesting.
Yeah.
And the sort of difficulty that Dark Souls is known for, I guess, is there, but it feels, especially a lot of the bosses feel, I don't know, kind of set piecey, or like they feel challenging in a way that is not building on initial skills as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah, the randomized element makes it hard because so part of playing Dead Cells is there are different routes you can take to get to the final stages. So it used to be pretty linear, but now they've built out so many different stages that you can decide how you want to approach the final boss. So you may never encounter one of the other bosses depending on what route you take. Like you'll always encounter like a first level and a second level boss, but who those bosses are will be dependent on what path you decide to take. And part of what's frustrating about the game is that if you don't have a build, like a character build, so like you can build your character by finesse, by healing, or by strength, and each of those does well against certain bosses, but rarely does one of them kind of demolish all of the bosses the way that it needs to. So you could be doing super well up into a point and then get to a boss that like just needs to be fucking tanked, and there's just no way of doing it with your finesse character, so you die and are like, lose 40 minutes of gameplay. And so that it feels like I understand why they wanted to like do kind of a Souls elements, like with the certain like ranked difficulty of bosses and like the level of like dodging and needing to like just like the focus it takes for it, but also it feels like massively unfair a lot of the time. They've gotten better at it. They've balanced it better, but it still feels I still know that I have to build things a certain way in order to get past like all of the first secondary bosses to get to the final screen. So I basically always play it the same way, like every single time, even though the game is supposed to invite, changing it up basically.
Oh my god, don't even get me started on games that invite you to build your character the way you see fit, but also this one boss, if you don't fucking have a guy that does, whatever, you're fucked. It's like stealth games. Like, what the fuck are you doing with a boss in a stealth game? How, like, I've been sneaking around for hours and now I gotta pull out a machine gun? Why?
I mean, my disposition doesn't let me play stealth games. I get far too stressed out. Like, for whatever reason, stealth games are like my absolute no-go. Whenever there were stealth missions in Skyrim, I just like absolutely armed myself to the gills and just ran in and was like just murdered everyone.
Oh man, I don't think anyone ever saw me coming in Oblivion. I stealth through that entire game. Nobody knows what my face looks like. They're just getting slammed with arrows from hundreds of miles away.
Your names are just whispered on the shadows.
Yeah, and that was my problem with Skyrim, is that I tried to make the same stealthy guy, but it really forced you to fight a lot more, I thought, than Oblivion did. But
even
that's
the Thieves Guild quest has like a murder dungeon in it where you're supposed to be like picking off skelly boys and shit.
Yeah, but none of it actually worked out that way.
Look, I've also played Dead Cells, and I actually I'll break from the group here and I'll give it 3 out of 5 pinballs because I'm not good at it and I'm not going to spend the time to learn how to do it.
So, is that your criterion for pinball?
That's how I feel about pinball. So I think that gives it 1 extra pinball.
It might actually make it up to 4 out of 5 pinballs simply because as I think about it, the game itself is kind of like Technicolor, like there's just so much happening on screen at any given point in time. There's like traps you're setting off. Every time you slash at someone, there's like, pixelated blood flying. and it kind of becomes just like a miasma of like various colors that are nearly impossible to track if you're an outside observer, which to me feels like watching anyone play pinball, where there's just so many lights going off at once that it becomes hard to track the action unless you're completely zoned into it. And for that reason, I think Dead Cells has actually approached, if not reached, the coveted 4 out of 5 pinballs.
For a non-pinball
Dylan,
game,
thoughts?
that's pretty good.
Yeah.
No, I'm just thinking
Who's going to write the French and tell them? We should write them a letter. Make
Well,
sure they
not
know
me.
they've reached this accomplishment.
Well, if we do write the French, we'll have
assuming
to
a lot.
write
You're
it in that
assuming the-
gobbledygook they speak.
I was gonna say, you're assuming the French know how to read. They're too busy striking. They'll get the letter and they'll be like, no, I need another lunch.
Yeah, no, it's true.
Hey, Willie, your dialect work? Phenomenal.
You know what?
Yeah.
I just watched a classic of French cinema, The Discreet Charm of the Bourgeoisie. Fuck that shit. It's garbage. Garbage-ass movie. So fucking boring.
That's how I feel about the Umbrellas of Chambord. My
Yeah.
least favorite movie.
Although that...
Fuck it.
Hey,
Fuck the French.
fuck the French. Although...
I'm sorry,
You did hear
French.
first,
I felt-
folks.
I felt
Amy
that.
Langer said, fuck the French.
Immediately terrible because I love the French.
damn.
I love their patisseries.
We really bring out the worst in you, huh?
This is...
yeah,
what's that?
statements I immediately regret.
What's that cartoon movie about the French cyclist who sucks ass, but he
The
never
Triplets
gets
of
out?
Belleville.
Belleville. Mhm.
Yeah, that
It's
movie
a great
sucks.
movie.
That movie does suck. I will say, Au Hasard Balthazar, which is a French movie from the 60s or 50s. I don't fucking know. It's a black and white movie about a donkey. It's beautiful, and it makes me cry. So,
That's the one thing you'll allow.
I'll allow it. Any French movie about a donkey, but, you know, French New Wave can go fuck
I mean,
itself.
I was a teenager in the early aughts. I watched Amelie more times than I can count. You know, we all make choices.
Don't get me fucking started on Amelie. Because
I still love Amelie.
I just had to watch
refuse.
Delicatessen,
Oh.
the first movie
Yes.
those guys did.
Mhm. Yep.
So the point is, the French get look. The French get 5 out of 5 pinballs, but in a bad way, I'd say.
Yeah, 5 out of 5 French pinballs.
They all have little
Shall we-
mustaches.
At the risk of making any more nationalities our enemy, shall we move on to the third review?
Yes.
Okay. So I gotta preface this by saying I got PS Now recently, which has provides access to just a plethora of games that nobody wants to pay money for, and I've been playing around with it. It also has the PS3 Fallout games and Oblivion, so I've
Oh.
been making some horrible Bethesda monsters. But I was browsing around last night, actually, and I found a game called Arcania the Complete Tale. And I started it
Versus
up.
all the piecemeal Arcanias that you've had to deal with up until this point.
Finally, they got it all in one place. And when I started it up, I thought I was in a Gilson Pontes game. My sword was on fire. There was no health meter. There was one attack button and a jump button. And there were a bunch of skeletons that I had to kill in a cave that seemingly had no end. So anyways, so after I killed a bunch of skeletons, I woke up as a man with a health bar and a stamina bar in some sort of generic fantasy-looking setting. This was, I believe, a remastered PS3 game, and it looks terrible. Someone told me that I was a shepherd, and then my presumably girlfriend told me that I had to go see her father in town. So I walked to town, I found a roll button and a jump button and the one attack button. I was holding one of those big goofy shepherd's canes with the loop on the end.
Crook.
A crook, yeah.
Yeah.
So I get to town, there's what looks like a fat red orc sitting on the road, and I talk to him and he says, "Hey, you gotta go talk to your girlfriend's dad." And I said, "Yeah, I
He seems
know."
to know a
And
lot
then
about you and your personal life.
yeah. So then my controller died, and when my controller died, the character kept running. So I picked up a fresh controller and connected it, and then the game crashed. And so that was the end of my experience playing Arcania. But I got curious, and so I looked up some reviews. It's got a, let's see here, a 42% on Metacritic. And this is a quote from one of the professional Metacritic reviews. It's just not fun. So I was able to find one review that was relatively positive in a sort of in a place that wasn't just the user reviews on Metacritic. This was from Bago Games. This is a man, Nathan Broderick, and he writes such things as, RPG enthusiasts not obsessed with only playing the biggest and best will be entertained. Here's another one. Nothing groundbreaking or spectacular. This is my favorite. A completely competent game. And down at the bottom he says, you might find it easy to look past its various flaws. So
you might, not guaranteed, you might recognize all the flaws.
This is the saddest dating profile I've ever heard. Like,
but here's the thing, that review is 8 out of 10.
Wow.
So that was the best review I could find of the game on the internet, and that was when I decided my journey with it was over. As far as how many pinballs it is, I'm gonna say 1 out of 5 pinballs. There's a clear lack of rules and instruction. The game fails to play, which I suppose is sort of like a tilt.
No, that's not like a tilt.
No.
That's like when you are at the movie theater and it's unplugged and you ask the guy to plug it in and he says it's not his job, and then you go see the movie that you came to see.
Yeah, honestly, it was a really terrible experience, but I thought it was pretty funny, so I brought it here today. 1 out of 5 pinballs.
Wow, thank you for sharing. I think this is the time where I take a bathroom break, and then we move into sort of a free-form dialogue about pinball.
I just beat the FF7 remake.
Hey! Again, I have no point of reference for any of this, so I assume they're Big Boss. How was game good?
Game was good. Game had problems, but game was good.
What game problems were there?
I don't know. There was this one puzzle in the final sequence where you had to keep switching back and forth between 2 different groups, and they would communicate between each other, and you had to like open doors to let one group forward so they could open another door, which was fine. I liked it. But the problem was every time you switched groups, there were like 3 steps. One character you would see the thing that you just did. A character would comment on it to the person standing next to them. That person would say it into the phone to the person on the other side. That person then would hang up the phone, turn to the person standing next to them, and say it again. And so,
oh my God.
And it happened a lot. And so every single time, it's like it wasn't even like hints. They like told you how to do it. Like 3 times in a row for every step of the puzzle. And things like that.
Yeah, that's one of my least favorite game mechanics, where it's just like the reiteration of the point. I'm still playing just Animal Crossing, basically, but I do have to say the repetition of having to go through every single fucking, like, dialogue tree in order to sell, like, a bug is just...
Oh, yeah.
I just want to... It makes me want to lay on the floor, and not in a good way, in a negative way.
Well, it's also, too, that, like, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like every console has an island.
Yes,
and
so...
you don't get to, like, it seems like Pokemon, where if you want to create a new save data, you have to, like, do a magic hex and then, like, you know, hold down 6 buttons at once and lick the game, and then it'll, like, ask you if you pretty please would consider not doing it.
Right, or it shows you the faces of all the Pokemon in your party. It's like, are you gonna get rid of this one?
Do you know
Also
who you're
this one?
hurting? Yeah.
Yeah, like when you try to give a Neopet up for adoption, and it would be like, are you sure? And it would show you a sad face. Anyway, I played a lot of Neopets. I don't know if that was something that you were ever familiar with.
I was aware of
like...
Neopets, but I don't think I played it. Bea is giving me a goofy grin that says yes, she did.
I feel like that all like young women of a certain age was like it was like coming of age where you were just like welcomed into the Neopets family. Like you were just given some space. You could start up a small business. Like it was like Girl Scouts, but better.
That is Final Fantasy VII for boys.
Is it? It's
Well,
just Boy Scouts. Like
well,
you're just learning all of your life skills.
Yeah, for like fat boys that don't know how to talk to girls and are like super beta. Yeah, that's Final Fantasy VII.
I don't know if so. One of the things with like Neopets and also with Pokemon, I realize now is like in elementary school, I remember there being a lot of conversations where people would play like Pokemon and then say that they had like a super secret bit of knowledge, like, oh, if you turn around 3 times and like try to run off screen, you can get to like a certain special level that like no one else knows about.
I caught Mew, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And it still honestly haunts me how much I like clung on to those things and like really wished for them to be true and felt like I was just doing something terribly wrong to not be able to access those things.
Yeah.
It's for whatever. Anyway, that's a brief aside that it just haunts me still.
Well, and so that, I mean, I'm going to beat this horse to an unrecognizable pulp, but this is one of the things I love about Dark Souls. Because it resurrects that sort of community of rumor and hearsay and, you know, like, so I did read a book about Dark Souls by Keza McDonald. She used to be I think she's the editor of games for The Guardian.
Okay.
But she was one of the first like she was one of the early reviewers of Dark Souls, and there were only like 12 people that had the game, at least in the English speaking community, and they were all on an email thread trying to figure out how it was they were supposed to do the game. And like, so they were like encouraging each other and like giving each other advice about like where to find a certain item or like how to get through, because there were no player's guides, there was no nothing.
Right.
And I think one person got past Ornstein and Smough. Nobody beat the game. And like that feeling, it really carries over to the internet, like all the forums, the wikis.
Totally.
That sort of community of like, oh, did you know that there's a secret wall behind the secret wall where you can get to the, you know, whatever?
Yeah, I find this both fascinating, and I still, like, I know I mentioned this last time, but there's still some part of me that, like it sets off a certain, like, alarm bell in our contemporary discourse around, like, rumor and conspiracy. Mm-hmm. Like, there's something about, like, here's... like, lean in close and I'll tell you a secret about how things really are working. There's something about like the mythology, like certain games that have opaque mythologies or are partially successful because of players' dedication to like really deep diving into lore. Mm-hmm. I know that it has a history beyond just like, again, contemporary politics, and that history, like, I think is really useful and interesting, but for whatever reason, because of the way like information and especially news spreads now, like it's hard for me not to look at it like in a QAnon context where it's like, well, if we just figure out this puzzle, if we just figure out how all these things piece together, then we have the answer. Like there's something about it that just like there's
See, Amy, you say that, and yet you also watch TikTok for videos about how to get the best island on Animal Crossing, and that's all bullshit. That's not real. None of those tricks are real. So you are simultaneously susceptible and skeptical.
Yes.
Did any of you guys play Pokemon Pinball?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a really good game for the Game Boy Color. I think it was actually Game Boy Color exclusive.
That was a great game.
What?
And it was amazing. Yeah. It was basically a pinball table, and your pinball was a Pokeball, and so you would shoot it up and down the table and catch different Pokemon and stuff like that.
You know, my Game Boy Color still works. If I can find that game, I am purchasing it for myself.
You should do yourself a favor and hop on the internet and buy Pokemon Pinball. I swear to God, it's a great game.
Yeah, well...
And you know what? It's the first game on this podcast to get 5 out of 5 pinballs.
No. Yes.
Yeah, because you know what? It had a rumble feature as well. So there was physical feedback on your Game Boy when you're hitting the bumpers up and down.
Mm-hmm.
It had all of the bumpers, flippers, little lights that do stuff, and you got to catch Pokemon. So 5 out of 5. You heard it here first, folks.
I can buy this for $10.
You should.
I am
should
going
Buy it
to.
right now.
The other day on one of my walks, there was a kid with a mask walking outside, like just a regular face mask, but he was flipping a butterfly knife the whole time. Just like casually walking down the street, flipping a butterfly knife at like 4 PM. And you know what? It was a strong look. It was a strong and, dare I say, not terrible look.
I don't know what happened, but I woke up the other day and realized that we are living in the movie The Warriors. All
Yeah.
sorts of like weird themed roaming street gangs with masks and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And I have all these bottles on my fingers that I just clink together randomly. But I've been
That's
doing that
what
for
that
years.
is.
I've been doing it for years, though, you know?
Yeah, I'm gonna, you know, my parents are moving. I'm gonna try to get my Little League jersey before they do, and then I'll go around town.
Roller skating?
Yeah, roller skating.
Through Midtown.
You know what? I don't have it in me. I don't have the coordination. I'm too fat for the Little League jersey. And I think I would eat shit. I would rollerblade out of the house with my spiky bat, and I'd just face plant into the fucking street. And that's it. And then I'm dead. Because someone with a cool outfit, like, you know, football pads or something, is just going to come by and fucking stomp me to death. So... Not gonna join the Baseball Furies. I've decided now. I want to be I want to be in the Warriors. They're nice. They do good things. You think they'd have me?
I do. Also, that movie is unwatchable. When was the last time you tried to watch that movie? It's a fucking nightmare. It's paced terribly. Like, I get it. It's aesthetically kind of cool. There's like a good every maybe half an hour, like 30 seconds of something cool happens. But for the most part, unwatchable.
That's how I felt watching the first Mad Max. Oh, sorry. How
I
many
give the
pinballs?
Warriors 5 out of 5 pinballs, also in a bad way. Okay, this is the thing that blows my mind is like movie viewers in the 70s couldn't understand a jump cut. So 70s movies, you have to watch the person. They say, I'm going to leave. And then they stand up and then they leave. And then they walk all the way to their car. And then they get in the car and then they drive to wherever they're going. And then they get out and they're like, I'm here now.
That is absolutely not true. That might have been true in the 60s.
Sure that's the entirety
That's not
of
true in the 70s.
That's
okay.
Like, I've seen The Graduate. I know.
Look at fucking
never
Midnight
not
Cowboy.
driving.
Midnight Cowboy. He breaks the fourth wall and talks directly through the world of the movie into your living room. He's talking at you. You've got Robert Altman doing all kinds of crazy shit. Don't give me that fucking we had to watch him go to their car.
Hey, I also thought Midnight Cowboy was boring.
Hey. Look, that's the thing, is he's talking through the film screen because everybody also thought movies were real. And in 1970, the train would come out and everybody would duck in the theater. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the movie viewing audience was trash. And now you can just say, I'm going to leave, and then you can just jump cut to 10 years later, and it's fine. It works great. We all get it. We're all with it.
Right. So if
Our brains are so fried on internet garbage that we're like, this makes sense.
So if Goodfellas had come out in the 70s, everybody would have had a heart attack at the very end when Joe Pesci shoots the audience.
I'd like to see the statistics. I want to see the people. I want to see the numbers.
Well,
okay, I'm going to give 70s movies, 4 out of 5 pinballs because I don't actually have to watch them. I could live
No
my
one is
entire
making
life
you.
without having to.
No, it's
watch that movie just
it's
fine.
literally the best. It's the best time for American movies in the history of
Ugh.
American movies. Is like,
Ugh.
no, it's true. I'm not. Roll your eyes, scoff what you want, but like, it's true. 5 out of 5 pinballs.
No, okay. We need to refocus. Amy and Dylan, please come with me to the pinball theory corner.
Okay.
A couple of things are happening right now. One, we're throwing out 5 pinballs like they're candy, and I don't
It's
think
true.
that's sustainable. We can't rate everything 5 pinballs just because we like it and we think it's cool and good, or we think it's bad and it sucks. All right, we gotta double down on this rubric. Another thing that's happening is, we're saying pinball is competing against yourself. And I know we established that last episode, and that is true. But also, we do have to remember the high score on the pinball machine, it isn't just you. Ideally, it is other people in there. So I do think the element of competition needs to involve other people. Like, you're not just competing against yourself.
Pinball is other
And so
people.
You can't. Yeah. Pinball doesn't exist in an echo chamber.
Have either of you written a review, like an online
Never.
review for a
Never.
product?
Never have I written an
Never.
Amazon review. Never.
It must take a certain type of person to do that, right? Like,
Yeah, because
Oh, yeah.
here's the thing: there's 1-star reviews. You get it. Okay, so the thing showed up broken, and it hurt or scared your family in some way. And no, but like, it's all fucked up, or the product doesn't work, or it says it'll do something and it doesn't, and you're pissed. So you go online and you write 2 paragraphs, and you are making death threats to the company and everything. That review I get. The 5-star review I get too, where you're like, God damn, I just needed a thing to do this one thing, and I fucking got it, and it did it, and my life is better for it. And it wasn't too expensive either. 5 stars. Like, I get that review. Who the fuck is posting 3-star reviews? That's the psychopath. The guy that's like...
the critic.
No, the guy that's like, this was fine. I'm gonna go tell everyone.
Honestly, you know who sounds like the type of person to post a 3-star review?
Don't say it.
It's you, Dylan.
No,
it's you.
not.
It's you. You are that person.
No.
You are the person who has too much integrity to give something 5 stars without thoroughly reviewing it, but also has the need and desire to let people know about the thing.
That's not true. Look, I've been giving out 5 pinballs like I'm Franklin Delano Pinballs over here. So for you to say that I'm being stingy with my praise is garbage, man. That doesn't hold water. No.
Yeah, well, in this context, you don't give a shit.
Yeah, well, I never. Well, but the thing is, there are things that I will tell people. I will tell my friends about things. I'm not gonna tell the world at large.
No, okay. You know what? You're right. You're a 1 or 5 star kind of guy. There's no in the middle. I was wrong in that assessment of you, and I apologize. Can you forgive me?
We'll see. Frankly.
See, what? That was the perfect opportunity for you to say yes or no. I just said it was 1 or 5 stars, and you just gave me 3 stars. So I just proved my goddamn point that you are a 3-star motherfucker.
Nah.
Okay, sorry, Amy. You had a thing.
I did. I just have. It's not nearly as good as railing on Dylan for a while. Like that's evergreen. But in the interest of giving him just a moment, this is just a 1-star Amazon review of Stouffer's lasagna, which is edible but doesn't taste like lasagna.
That's right.
Yeah, 2 people found this review helpful. They say they bought a much better lasagna from Costco. So
That's very helpful, actually.
there's also 4 stars, and they just wrote, "I will be ordering more." So
That's great.
why they didn't get 5 stars, I'm not quite sure.
I think we should say goodbye.
Okay, at the same time?
No.
Well, we got to do like a thing. I did it last time. It worked out pretty good. Somebody else do it.
I don't remember a thing you said last. I did the intro. I did such a good job on the intro.
All right, I'm gonna do a not shitty one this time.
Do a not shitty one, please, God.
Well, everybody, thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.
Bye.
partially microwaved, Stouffer's lasagna. It's still frozen in the center.
Partially microwaved?
Yeah, it's no good.
Yeah.
You gotta heat that shit
But
up
you eat it
more.
anyway because you're like, well, I did it.
Of course you eat it anyway. What are you gonna do? Set the table, not eat over the sink? Not just accept your lot as you microwave it once and that's what it is regardless of whether it's edible or not? That's just what it is, okay? It's cold in the center, you eat it. It's food. Don't be so picky.
Stouffer's lasagna out of pinballs.
Oh, yeah.
Stouffer's lasagna. Shit. Anyone? Two pinballs?
I don't think I've ever had a Stouffer's product.
Oh, they're great.
You haven't lived.
They're so
I know.
good.
I'm aware of my shortcomings.
They-
I'm aware that I haven't yet tasted life's full potential. But
Nothing like crunching through the crispy singed pasta into a big full mouth bite of just
well, pasta's
frozen and gritty meat. Yeah.
Well, yeah, you start to wonder where the grit comes from. Also, pasta is something that, intuitively should be put in the microwave. Something that lends itself well structurally to be both frozen and reheated.
Yeah.
You guys want to hear a life hack?
Yeah.
No matter what the no matter what the instructions say, just put it in for 5 minutes. Just put it in the microwave for 5 minutes. It works every time, I swear.
You know what happened to me like a year ago? No, maybe 2 years by now. I let the Hot Pocket rest after I microwaved it.
You fool.
No, like it says on the box. And you know what? It was great. It was fucking delicious. I did it exactly.
How long do you let
I
it
don't
rest
understand.
for?
You have to let it sit in the microwave for a minute after you've microwaved it.
Why?
In the microwave. No, that's actually true. After I put whatever's in there and just set it for 5 minutes, then I just walk away and forget about it until it stops bubbling, and then I eat it.